my name is Claire, and for those of you who don't know me, I was part of Life Church for about 15 years before moving away 3 years ago to train at Bristol Baptist College. It's a privilege to be speaking to you guys today in the first of your Advent series. The topic that I've been given is Prophesying Jesus, and we're going to spend some time looking at a passage in Isaiah. But before we do that, let's have a bit of context. Isaiah lived about 700 years before Jesus was born. He lived in Jerusalem, the capital of the Kingdom of Judah, and he was called by God to be a prophet, to be God's spokesperson to the rulers and the people of God. This was actually a pretty difficult job because a lot of the messages that God gave Isaiah to bring weren't very positive. Isaiah lived at quite a dark time in Israel's history. The people had been turning away from God, worshipping other gods and idols and getting up to all sorts of stuff that really wasn't good. And so God gave messages to Isaiah to bring messages of judgment, messages of warning them that if they didn't turn back to God, there would be consequences. But amongst these messages of judgment, there are also messages of hope, because no matter how unfaithful God's people are to him, he always remains faithful to them. And one of these messages of hope is found in Isaiah chapter 9. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in a land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. You have enlarged the nation and increased their joy. They rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest, as warriors rejoice when dividing the plunder. For as in the day of Midian's defeat, you have shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor. Every warrior's boot used in battle and every garment rolled in blood will be destined for burning, will be fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness, from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. In the midst of the darkness and mess surrounding Isaiah, God brings a message of hope. Someone is coming. Someone is coming who will make everything right. And this isn't the first time that this someone has been spoken of in the Bible. All the way through the Old Testament, there are messages, prophecies about this special someone, this Messiah who is going to come. As far back as Genesis chapter 3, right at the start of the Bible, we're told that someone is coming who will defeat evil. In 2 Samuel, King David is told that someone is coming who will sit on his throne and establish a kingdom forever. In the Psalms, we're told that someone is coming who will be a king and a priest like no one else, and he will be called the Son of God. And in Isaiah, there are many different prophecies about this Messiah who's coming. Isaiah is told that he will be born to a virgin, that his name will be Emmanuel, God with us, that he will perform miracles and teach the people, that he will bind up the brokenhearted, but that he will also be falsely accused, that he will be beaten and mocked, that he will be pierced for our transgressions, but ultimately he will conquer death and he will see again the light of life. I wonder if Isaiah could actually get his head around all this. The video that Giles and Tony put together is an imagination of what it was like for the prophet to try and process all these messages. God coming in human form, the mighty Saviour being born as a helpless baby. And after Isaiah, there were more prophecies. Micah prophesies that the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. Zechariah prophesies about the betrayal and death that he will face, and also that he will be a king that comes riding on a donkey. With all these prophecies and all these messages, there would have been a growing sense of anticipation in the people of God. Who is this Messiah? When will he come? And actually, there would have been a growing sense of desperation. For in the years after Isaiah spoke, the people of God went through a real season of darkness. They were conquered by foreign armies. Towns and cities are destroyed. They are carried into exile, into slavery. And all this time they are waiting. When is the Messiah going to come? When is he going to come and make everything right again? It was 700 years after Isaiah prophesied that Jesus was born. 700 years is a long time to wait. And I'm sure that in that time of waiting, there would have been questions. God, what are you doing? Where is this Messiah? Did you really say you were going to send someone? Did Isaiah get it right? Can we really hope that you're going to bring your light into our darkness? I don't know about you, but I am not very good at waiting. And this year feels like there's been a lot of waiting. Waiting for some good news, waiting for lockdown to end, waiting for a vaccine, waiting to be able to see our friends and family again, waiting for things to go back to normal. And I'm sure in the waiting there have also been questions. I know there have been for me. God, what is going on? Why is this happening? When will this end? I am not a prophet like Isaiah. God has not told me what's going to happen in the future, so I will make no predictions for 2020 or 2021. But I don't need to know what is going to happen to have hope, because hope is already here. This baby that was prophesied has come. Emmanuel, God with us. He came and made his home amongst us, and he is still with us now. The people living in darkness have seen a great light, and that light continues to shine. The world still needs that message of hope, and now we are called to be the ones that prophesy Jesus. I'm not talking about predicting the second coming. The Bible makes it clear that Jesus is going to come again, but it also makes it clear that no one knows when. So let's just leave that one alone. But actually, the Old Testament words that are used to describe the prophet and what the prophet does are about seeing and telling. A prophet is someone who has seen a vision. And in Isaiah 6, you can read about a vision that Isaiah had of God in the throne room and the angels surrounding him. I've not had a vision in the same way as Isaiah, but I have seen. I have seen the great light shining in the darkness, because I have seen Jesus. I have seen how all these prophecies across the Old Testament were fulfilled in the life of Jesus of Nazareth. I have seen countless reenactments of the nativity story. Shepherds and the kings, the low class and the high class, are welcomed and invited to come and celebrate in his birth. I have read the Gospels and I have seen how Jesus spent his time with the broken and the poor and the sinners, and he offered them redemption and healing and hope. I have seen how lives were transformed instantly. I have been to Israel and I have seen the hill on which Jesus offered his life on the cross for the sake of the world. I have read about his sacrifice and what it means for us. And I have seen and read about his resurrection, about how he defeated death and took away its sting. And I haven't just seen Jesus in the pages of the Bible, I've seen Jesus at work in my own life. I have seen how in my moments of darkness, he has reached down into the pit and pulled me out. He has shone his light into my life. I have seen miracles, I have seen healing, I have seen provision. I have seen God transform lives in the way that only he can do it. And I know I'm not the only one who has seen Jesus. I know that many of you sat here now have got stories of where you've seen Jesus do amazing things. But being a prophet isn't just about seeing God, seeing Jesus, having this vision. It's also being about someone who tells the message. In the Old Testament, God called specific prophets to deliver specific messages about him, about this Messiah, and about other things that were going to happen. But in the New Testament, things kind of change a bit. You can read in Matthew 28, where Jesus, after his resurrection, gathered his disciples and told them that he was commissioning them to go into all the world to tell everyone the good news. We, as the disciples, we, as the people who have seen the light shining in the darkness, are called to go and declare this message of hope into the world, a world that desperately still needs this message of hope, even thousands of years later. This isn't just a message for Advent or Christmas, although Christmas does give us a really good excuse to talk about Jesus more. This Christmas is going to be different. We won't be able to have our Christmas parties and our carol services in the same way, but our message of hope remains the same. The light has shone in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it and will never overcome it. Let's each of us take every opportunity to share this message of hope freely, boldly, and joyfully this season and beyond.